You probably never looked at it from their perspective, which was, I've had to adapt because I don't have two parents in the home. For our son, I felt like you were always trying to put more rules on him without having a relationship. Rules without relationship equals rebellion. Caden says when my dad started working on himself, the whole family started to change.
The whole family unit started to work again. All right, everyone, we are back. Amber Marcus Capone here. So today we are going to discuss parenting.
Oh, yay. One of our favorite topics.
It's our favorite topic. So parenting is never easy, but when you're carrying pain, trauma, or just trying to survive, it can feel impossible. Whether the struggle is mental health, grief, relationship strain, or something else, you're not alone. Today we are opening up about how we parented, meaning we, me and you, through some of our hardest seasons, what we've learned, and how healing has changed our family dynamic.
Yes. And I say one of our favorite topics because we have consistently not agreed on parenting for the bulk of our marriage. However, we have managed to put two really incredible kids out into the world, and we have very, very close relationships with them. So we did something right.
We did do something right. Our kids are amazing, Caden and Maggie. So let's just talk about, again, I think the hardest part is when we were going through our stuff, when we were struggling. What would a typical day look like when things felt heavy?
Well, if we back up even further than that, when you were deploying a lot, you were definitely like the uncle who came to visit, and things were great. And then you would leave. And I think that the kids, especially Caden, looking up to you as the same-sex parent, had this sort of idea of who you were based on what he wanted you to be and what maybe the world expected you to be. And so when you did finally come home and things were really difficult, it was like the crushing of his dreams in some ways. Like,
well, I used to get frustrated because I would be sitting, let's say, right between them, and you would be in the kitchen, and they would get up and they would ask you something, or they would walk right past me and ask you. And I would remember like saying out loud, like, "Hey, I'm right here. Like, you could ask me that question. I could answer it. I could solve this problem." But I don't think they even
think it occurred
they didn't even
to them.
know that because I was, gone, whatever, 250, 300 days a year. And they didn't look at me as a person who could problem solve for them on a
You
regular
probably
basis.
never looked at it from their perspective, which was like, I've had to adapt to this because I don't have two parents in the home. So I've had to rely on my mom for everything. You probably didn't look at it from my perspective, which is like, everyone asks Amber everything all the time.
Well, let's get this right. I mean, I didn't look at anyone's perspective except my own for
True.
a very long time.
And then when things got really tough, Caden especially struggled, and that's depicted in the film. I love that the film follows you and Caden and the relationship.
So our film in Waves and War.
Yeah, the documentary that we've been part of, working on for years, and it is set to premiere on Netflix November 3rd.
November 3rd.
The film really captures the essence of your relationship with Caden and how your relationship has grown since you went to Mexico and you've been doing self-work. But in the years leading up to that, he was a teenager. You went to Mexico in 2017 for the first time. You did Ibogaine in 2017 for the first time. And he was 17. It was a horrible age.
Ibogaine, for those who don't know, is one of the strongest psychedelics on the planet. And for me, it healed me, and it's healing many veterans around the globe and civilians. And it's a incredible compound that needs to be researched more.
Absolutely. And it really did stop the bleeding. I felt like a tourniquet for the family. And Caden says in the film when something to the effect of, when my dad started working on himself, the whole family started to change. We all started to put in the work or something like that. Yeah,
you said the whole family unit just started
to work again.
Just started to work again.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to raise teenagers. It is even harder whenever there's other struggle in the house. And so I oftentimes felt trapped in the middle of the two of you. You were frustrated with him. He was frustrated with you. If I took your side, he felt abandoned. If I took his side, you got upset. Like I just felt like I couldn't do anything right. And yet I could see that there was a real disconnect between the two of you. And I was like an obstacle in the way of that connection. And I was working with a therapist at the time who was like, rules without relationship equals rebellion. And I felt like you were always trying to put more rules on him without having a relationship. And that was sort of like fueling his rebellion.
And I didn't even know what I was doing. I mean, we got thrusted into parenthood. There's plenty of books on it. I don't know, but you could read all the books in the world unless you're actually doing it.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to parent correctly.
We also used to have an ongoing dialogue / disagreement with me choosing to be a stay-at-home mom, which was really important to me, with how much you were away. And I wanted them to have a consistent parent figure in the home and not be a latchkey kid. I didn't have family around. They weren't being raised like I was raised with aunts, uncles, grandparents, great grandparents, great aunts, great uncles, cousins, and they didn't have anyone except me. And so I remember one time saying to you, my paycheck will come when I put two decent humans out into the world. And I'm just so proud of them.
Yeah. And you did such a amazing job at that. And we do have two amazing kids that are now out in the world. And now we're focusing on us a little bit. We still
Yeah.
love you too. And we're still think about you both every day, but we're working on mom and dad.
Well, it's nice to be empty nesters, I'm not going to lie, because we did have kids in the house for 25 years. And so this,
At a young age too.
yeah, no, there was never a newlywed phase for us. And then, of course, it was followed by many deployment cycles, training cycles. And then the real challenge whenever we transitioned out of the military into civilian life, I feel like that's really when the wheels came off. And that was when we moved from California to Texas in 2014. Caden was 14. So from 14 to 17, whew, those were rough years. Those are rough years anyway. What advice would you give to parents with 14 to 17-year-old kids?
You just have to, I want to say sometimes, most of the time, just sit and listen because like everyone else, kids want to be heard and they want to feel like they have buy-in and they want to feel like you're listening. And sometimes you just have to sit there, whether you like it or you dislike it or you approve or you disapprove or don't agree. You just sit there and listen, kind of try to feel what they're feeling, try to empathize, put yourself in their shoes, have their perspective, seeing their side of the story, understanding the position that they're taking will allow you to be a better parent. It'll allow you to make a better decision on what they're talking about. It'll allow you to help answer and solve a problem that they're trying to figure out. But you can't look at their problem from your perspective. Again, you got to put yourself in their shoes and understand where they're coming from. And it doesn't mean that you allow them to run wild and do whatever they want. You always have to set boundaries, but without hearing them, without them knowing that you're hearing them, it's going to be a lot more difficult to parent. And when they come to a point where they know mom and dad is a trusted person that they can come with their issues and that you're listening to them, they're more apt to open up to you and listen to maybe some of the advice that you're giving them. Because you and I and parents have many more years of knowledge and experience and we can help solve their problems, but sometimes they don't want to hear it.
Yeah, and that's the hard thing I think too about parenting is letting your children figure things out on their own. And I have a tendency to want to solve their problems.
You like to solve all problems?
I do. I'm just hardwired that way. And, I think that one of the best things for our son, Caden, for example, was moving out and like being so self-sufficient. And I feel like he moved out of our home and started paying for his rent and his car payment. He works full time. He ran a half marathon. He started going to church. He started cutting his toenails. I'm like, who is this kid? He has a great girlfriend. I feel like seeing our kids become adults has been very gratifying
It
because
has.
they're making great choices. They have great partners
We have great
and
conversations.
yeah.
We're actually act like we're a family unit, as you know, Caden talked about in the movie. But let's just go back further. You know what the struggle was, how difficult it is raising kids, how difficult it is raising kids when you're extremely young and you're still developing.
Kids raising kids.
I mean, we're kids raising kids. I'm still raising myself. I'm a 48
I'm
year old.
raising you too.
I'm a 48-year-old
You're
child.
my third.
Yeah, exactly. When was the first time you saw, if you want to call progress in our kids?
I'll never forget the time that Caden was playing basketball in the park with his friends. And he has had such a heart for special needs kids. And there was a special needs kid shooting hoops alone. And he invited him not only to play basketball with them, but to come back to our house and hang out. And I just thought, like, that is my kid. You know, so many kids at that age, teenage boys would have bullied him. And, you know, to all of those boys, they welcomed him not only to play basketball or come back to our house, they welcomed him into their friend group. And they're still friends with him today. So that to me, and then Maggie, of course, I mean, she's just the she's so special. Her heart is so pure, and I think absolutely everything she does, I'm just lit up. Like, oh my gosh, she's the most caring soul in the whole wide world. The spouses and children of the military community, of the veteran community, to me, have always been the unsung heroes of our military because there is not a lot of recognition for the sacrifices that they make. And yet, you know, we all love our birthdays, we love holidays, and these kids spend a lot of them away from their parent. They spend months, you know, in some cases up to a year for deployments away from their parent. And it's really hard. It's really hard for the kids, yet there's not a lot of recognition for those sacrifices. So by the time grant recipients get through um, the application process for our program and they are accepted, their families are in crisis like we were. And it's one thing to be able to reach the veteran or the veteran and the spouse, but we've always struggled on what kind of programming or support mechanisms can we offer the kids. So we've started doing some parenting workshops for the parents, but also like adolescent and adult children workshops for the kids.
Yeah, and what does that like? What does that look like? What does it entail?
It's like literally everything. It's like exercises, you know, to express emotion, um, educating.
Which we used to do with Caden and Maggie. So you used to go to Sarah's gym in Virginia Beach, right? Sarah owned a CrossFit gym, and all the spouses, when we were gone, used to take their kids to the gym and used to let them work out. And Sarah used to put together children's programs, and they used to be involved in like kids CrossFit. And that was like some of the best things they can do, right? We were talking about community earlier on our break. It was like, that was the kids community, right? They were able to see their friends and they all shared the same struggle. Their dads were, you know, training or they were deploying. And so they had each other, and what were they doing? They were exercising. They were learning how to be little CrossFitters.
Yeah. That community is so important. And so that's what we're trying to build at Vets in a way that's, you know, this is still a stigmatized topic. It's still very nuanced and misunderstood or um, difficult to communicate. So it's like, well, how do you support children of grant recipients coming through our program in a way that's meaningful, but is not, you know, weird? Because they're doing, you know, psychedelics outside of the country. Like, how do you provide support for that for a family? And really, it goes back to like core fundamental support for any child experiencing trauma or distress, any child that has bottled up emotions. It's also really scary or difficult to know how to navigate those times. Like when you came back from Mexico, I know we were all kind of on eggshells, like, oh, we don't want to let down our guard, but this feels so great. And then you feel your guard coming down and you're like, get that back up because this might be too good to be true. Can't let the walls down. And of course, over time, all of that changes. So I would say, the programs that we're offering for kids and families at vets are really just about expressing emotion and educating around what to expect. You and I were raised in completely different types of homes, even though we were both raised as only children. I have two half brothers. I wasn't raised with them. I was raised by a single mom. And my grandparents played a huge role in how I was raised. And of course, my aunts and uncles and cousins. Like I had a really big family, but not two parents in the home.
Where I was the opposite. I had two parents in the home. I was an
Yeah.
only child. I grew up constantly busy. Like my parents did not let me, I want to say, sit at home ever really and play video games or not be left alone. I was always being shuffled around from one practice to the other practice to one game to the other game to lifeguarding to wrestling to football to baseball, basketball, soccer, skiing. I had if you want to call it, I don't want to call it overparenting. I mean, it was great.
I think you might have been overparented.
I think I had an amazing childhood.
No, I'm
I
kidding.
think more kids need to be constantly doing things and not being left alone to isolate and kind of figure it out on their own.
No, it's evident that your parents did a really great job in getting you involved in things. I remember hearing one time that if you keep your kids busy enough, they won't have time to get in trouble. And, truly, I think that is probably a big reason why you were always part of a team, always into achieving goals or high performance. And it served you very well in your life, for sure. I, on the other hand, was playing completely by myself, inventing, shops and stores and restaurants and libraries and things like that. But it made me very creative. And so I think that the two different types of homes that we were raised in probably created a lot of confusion for the two of us in determining parenting style. And we were parents at such a young age that we really didn't have a conversation about, well, how do you want to parent? How do you want to
I don't
parent?
think we ever had
You were
a
gone
conversation about any of that.
a lot. Yeah.
We didn't have a conversation about anything, about
Nothing.
finances, about parenting.
Nope. But we figured it out.
We figured it out. We're still figuring it out.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah. But ultimately, I think that the example that you have set for our family and for others who are going through this experience is like, you are doing this for your family. You are doing this for generations, truly, because there could have been a lot of dysfunction in your lineage based on the struggles that we've endured and the time away from home spent. And I feel like you've really reversed that. And the kids have looked to you and seen that you are trying. You're not just trying for you, you're trying for them. And you're trying for their kids, breaking generational cycles. So parenting is definitely not easy, but I wouldn't change it for anything. And I feel like through your work has helped us work on us, and it's helped us be better parents, show up differently for our kids, establish lines of communication and openness and trust that weren't previously there. And ultimately, it has brought us a lot closer. I feel like our kids are like our best friends. Like we are obsessed with hanging out with them.
We are now, but for a long time, it wasn't like that. For a long time, there was no connection. There was no family unit. There was no, I felt like we were failing as parents. And so what do you tell parents who feel like they're failing or just barely keeping it together or holding it together?
It's not too late. With a lot of effort and open communication, you can reestablish a relationship and connection with your kids. But I also think that you have to set that example. The kids are not going to be the ones to take the initiative to make the change. But if you lead by example and give it time, over time, they will learn to trust and feel safe in approaching the relationship in a new way.
So how do you build trust and connection after so many years of distrust?
Consistency.
Yeah.
Consistency. It's just continuing to show up. It's realizing that, we all put up walls to protect ourselves from pain. And so when a child lashes out or acts out or shuts you out, it's not because they are necessarily a bad kid. It's because they're so afraid of being hurt. And I think that with trust over time, like building that trust over time, just rep after rep after rep and continuing to show up, even if they're not showing up for you, um, you could chart a completely different course, but you got to keep trying. You got to keep showing up. You got to
Yeah,
keep
I mean, you have to keep.
establishing a relationship with them. The one thing for me, I would say, is consistency. What's your one thing?
So, I would say listening. I'd say being present for them, listening to them when they speak, showing that you care, not being on your phone, not running to a call, not running to your laptop. It's just being with your kids. When you're sitting down and you're having a conversation with them, or you're out to dinner, or you're just with them, be with them.
I could be better on that. I feel like in running vets and launching vets, it really kind of took me out of the stay-at-home mom role. I was always a stay-at-home mom, um, until they were like middle school age, and then I launched into a very busy career in real estate, and then from there I left that to launch vets. And so I feel like I tend to be a little bit of a workaholic, and they were very used to having my undivided attention. But now I feel like I'm really leaning into my life's calling, and I need to be better at finding that balance and showing up and being completely present. Um, During those years where I was setting an example for them because I was with them all the time, and I still think I think we're both setting an example for them. They were picking up on little habits, especially Maggie. And I think that children look mostly to their same sex parent. And so I see her doing things that I was doing that I didn't even know she was paying attention to, like quiet time, journaling, Bible time, whatever it is. Like, she's doing that now because she saw me doing that during very impressionable years. And so I'd say, to continuing to set that example, and by putting your own oxygen mask on first, you can then help your entire family. And I think that's what it really boils down to.
So, if we had to leave one thing for parents that are listening today, what's one thing they can work on, one thing they can do, one thing that they can take away to just be better parents and be there for their kids?
I would say putting on their own oxygen mask,
What does that mean?
taking care of themselves, because kids are paying very close attention, whether we know it or not, to everything that we're doing. And so, by showing up for ourselves, we can show up for our family in ways that will ripple out for generations.
Yeah, on that, we thank you again for listening in. We'll see you next week.